The S&P 500 essentially went nowhere today, closing at 6068, up 0.03%. So a really narrow trading range today. And this is coming to a culmination. If we look at the chart, we've been bouncing off of this resistance line, this downtrend resistance. However, ever since the beginning of February, we've been in a strong uptrend, and everything's kind of culminating to this one point right between the 6050 level and 6100 level on the S&P. In terms of the skew in the options market, it does look like there is a positive bias when it comes to gamma exposure. You can see positive gamma exposure very largely concentrated basically between 6050 and 6200. Similarly, when we look at the distribution of volume, this is today's volume in the options market. When we look at this distribution, most of the distribution is skewed to the upside here. If you just consider today's trading range, looking at this skew, it is just shifted slightly to the upside, and most of that is because of the 6100 strike. We've seen this larger outlier volume coming in for the last several trading sessions at the 6100 strike. And so if we do get a pop up to the 6100 level, that would essentially break this downtrend resistance that has been forming over the last month or so and could propel us to the upside in a momentum burst. We also have gamma exposure growing at the 6200 strike. We've been watching this for the last several weeks. This is basically our target heading into the March options expiration, which is only 4 or 5 weeks around the corner.
Thanks, Anthony. So an interesting thing about the VIX and VVIX, which is the index measuring the future expected volatility of the VIX, both of those were green today. Of course, this is in the face of the market not really doing very much. And so far, all indications point to this 15 to 16 area on the VIX being fairly sticky. We haven't seen the VIX able to break below that in a while. Today, we did have some volume as well at 30 and the 35 strike on the VIX. And just one other thing, VIX expiration this month, that's the time frame where the monthly VIX options expire. And that date happens to be February 19 this month. And so most of the negative gamma is at 16. In my experience, we typically don't see the VIX get too far away from those largest negative strikes, especially not to the downside. So in other words, I wouldn't be expecting the VIX to reach 12 or anything anytime soon. The way that I'm kind of merging this data with what we're seeing with the bullishness of SPX is that any dip for now is likely to be a buy the dip opportunity as long as we see all that gamma in late March for SPX.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Sean. And that's basically how we've been positioning ourselves in our portfolio, which, by the way, you can follow along in our community Discord, and our premium members get full access to all of the moves we're making. But here's some examples of buy the dip that we've been incorporating into our portfolio. For example, on NVIDIA, we actually bought the dip as it dropped on the DeepSeek AI news and just closed out yesterday after the big ramp. We also actually recently bought the dip on USO after it began bouncing yesterday as well. And we bought the dip in GLD, and this was going all the way back to the end of December. We actually had a little double bottom here. I think I mentioned this in yesterday's video, and this was a position we closed out in our portfolio last week as well. And so buy the dip has definitely been the way to play the market over the past year, and it still seems to be in effect. And another name that we've been watching is Apple. Apple trading above 232. This was actually a bright spot in the market today, up over 2%. Interestingly enough, on Apple, the lows were back in mid-January, and since then it has been steadily trending higher despite the earnings volatility that we saw. We saw a run up right into earnings, up to the 245 level before rejecting on that earnings call. This trend line, however, has been maintaining, and we've been bouncing all along the way. Interestingly enough, though, gamma exposure remains strong between 235 and 250. And so I know this is testing a lot of traders' patience. However, from an options market perspective, the gamma exposure is suggesting that if Apple can maintain this momentum that's been building over the last couple of weeks, we could see price gravitate higher as these gamma effects take place from these higher strikes up here. So both from a gamma exposure perspective and an options volume perspective, the data is pointing to higher potential prices. It just may take a little bit longer to play out.
Thanks, Anthony. I wanted to look at Microsoft, which hasn't done a lot lately, but it might be one of those tickers that comes to life just in the nick of time to help NASDAQ reach some of the higher targets that exist out there. I have the GEX levels chart pulled up. You can see the volume today was all at higher strikes for the most part, from 410 up to 430. We're above the zero gamma line. We're in a positive gamma environment for Microsoft, and our upper dealer cluster zone starts at 420. That's a fairly significant distance away from the current price at 411 and a half. And going over to the chart, what I like is that for 2 days now, the price has been above the whole moving average, which finally declined enough that it is resting below the price instead of above it. You know, for my methodology, if we're above the whole, that's a long signal. So that the upper target, that 420, right in the universe of where this 424 is, which is the middle Keltner channel. So it looks like there's some upside here. You know, if we did lose this 411, we might go to 400. I did see some negative gamma at 400. That may be a magnet if we fall below, but the risk reward definitely, in my view, seems tilted to the upside at this level.
Thanks, Sean. Next, I want to take a look at Walmart. You know, the Dow stocks have really been doing well over the last couple of weeks, and Walmart is no exception. Basically, a 10% move from mid-January into this first week of February, and so plus 10% in 2 to 3 weeks, which is a big move for a stock like Walmart. Gamma exposure is pointing higher. The 105 strike is the next obvious target, followed by potentially the 110 strike. We've been consolidating here over the last couple of trading sessions. I think if we can break out of this consolidation zone, that 105 strike will get targeted very quickly. We could see some further consolidation there before ultimately tagging that 110 strike. Something to watch for. Walmart does have earnings coming up on February 20th, so just keep that in mind. But this looks to be an interesting play from a risk-reward perspective as Walmart continues to trend higher.
The last one I want to look at today is ARM Holdings, and you can see it's been in a little bit of a downward consolidation for the last few days, but it's almost to a dealer cluster zone, 155, and we also have this very large gamma cluster at 170 up at the G1 level. So this is our zone where we think dealers may become sellers. Oftentimes we see consolidation at these levels, even if the price does eventually continue higher. There's also a number of other gamma levels, 180 and 190, that at least have noticeable gamma at those prices. So definitely looking at the higher volume at these higher strikes. And to me, the chart looks bullish. I don't like that we're below the whole moving average, but we do have an upward ascent on the Keltner channels. And so far, it just looks like prices consolidating before what bulls will hope is another push higher. Certainly looks possible the way that everything's configured, and looking at gamma as well.
And you can access our gamma exposure dashboard and our option flow analytics tools by heading over to geeksoffinance.com. As a reminder, we are running a promotional special, $300 off our yearly portfolio manager tier subscription. Use code WINTER2025 at checkout. We do have a few spots available, so take advantage of that while you can. We're also rolling out some proprietary technical indicators as well as our algorithmic trading strategies with full backtest results, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Members also get access to the premium channels in our community Discord. You can see all the moves we're making in our portfolio. We also have a ton of great traders in there sharing their own strategies and trade ideas as well. So definitely take advantage of that while you can. Link in the description below. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.